How you all doing? I am called Fidera on my channel, and for those who want to know what Fidera means, it basically means to see something, like the word SEEC, and the 19.5.5 is basically the spelling the word itself. So the 19th letter of the alphabet is S. The 5th letter of the alphabet is E, so it spells C. So yeah, to see something. So basically it makes sense because now you see in tutorials or work or whatever I'm doing on YouTube. Thank you for whoever's watching. Today I'm just gonna do a very simple tutorial, and all this tutorial is gonna consist of is texturing a floor, basically turning the floor into an old wooden texture and make it look rusty. If you're interested, so I'll show you how I did it using PBR textures, and also will leave down below a link to all the textures I've used in case you want to use the same one. And yeah, without further ado, let us begin. So I've already set up my camera and a certain building or house. So basically what I made was I made the floor, as you can see in here. And if you guys want to know how to see through the object while designing, you basically go down here on this down arrow on the top right corner where my mouse is shading, and you click on X-ray. Once you click on X-ray, you can actually see through any object you design, in case you didn't know. If I show you an example, and nope, not that, put a square in there, maybe just make that bigger. Notice how you can see that square in there. So I know some people like working with wireframe and stuff and they set it up, but I don't know, I just like seeing the whole full object sometimes, most of the time, and I think it's better for me this way. Then I can see its form and what I'm doing and stuff. So yeah, alright, now I'm gonna leave it like this so that you guys can see through what I'm doing. So basically what I designed was just a normal house, also a tiny house or part of a house. The floor, made sure that each object is separated, and then glass divider, glass frame, and a single glass. As you can see, if I hide it, you can see through it. That's basically just gonna be where it's like a sliding door or a glass door to open towards a garden or something. Alright, and then inside I set up a camera. Let me just take this out of X-ray. I've set up a camera, pressing F4. That's my view. So basically I just want to focus on the floor since the tutorial is about the floor, but however you guys want to design your scene, that's up to you. I'm just showing you how to do PBR textures when it comes to an old wooden texture, and really emphasize the floor in that form so it can look, if you want to make it look realistic you can, but I'm just gonna make it look as good as possible because I still have to upgrade my computer anyway, and my computer can't handle a lot of things, so bear with me. Okay, without further ado, let us begin. So let us start with the floor before anything else. Let's start with the floor before anything else. And what I would do is, I know that some people drag. If you go in the corner and you see that plus sign on the top right corner where my mouse is, follow my mouse, and right there, and then nope, they don't do that. Why is it not working? There we go. See, plus, with the plus sign you can drag and make a scene. But what I like doing is basically if you hover your mouse in between this empty line here, as you can see where my mouse is, follow my mouse, in between where this line is, and you right click immediately by clicking on vertical split, it'll give you a certain line, a vertical line, and when you click on a certain place, look at that, it makes a line for you, it makes a new window for you. And I believe that's just quicker, instead of just trying to find that place and then dragging it. No, I just like it that way. So if you want to close it, I just right click and see where it says join areas, you click on that, and if the arrow points towards the left, as it is right now on my screen, that basically shows the screen on the right is actually going to take over the screen on the left. If it points towards the right, the same way. So we're gonna just close that and leave it like that. So And forgive me, I suffer from sinuses, so yeah, I do struggle with that. I gotta take my pills, but I will. Anyway, let's focus on the material. So I tend to like to use the right port, not the left port. The left port is just to view what's happening, and it's just my preference. You can either use either way for the shader. So you click on the editor type, you go to shader editor, and this is where we're gonna do shading and put textures and stuff. And then here we simply just go to the render properties. I left mine on CPU because if I go on GPU it is going to struggle because my PC needs to be upgraded, but I'll leave it on CPU. But obviously if any of you have a powerful computer, go ahead and use GPU. It'll work out for you. And I tend to use denoising, and I click on that, but we don't need that for now, so I'm going to unclick that. In case you want to use it, you can. That's if your computer is strong enough. Mine struggles. Yeah, mine cries out loud in pain, but that's alright. Now to continue, because I tend to talk too much, let me get to the tutorial. As you can see, if I go and render in the viewport, ain't nothing there. Why? Because there ain't no light. So let me go back to the normal shader part, and where it says world properties, sorry about that, I had to pause the video and go get my pills, even though you might not notice. But anyway, world properties, we click on that, and then we click on new. From there we make sure we go to color. Right next to color there's a dark grayish block with the yellow dot in the middle. You click on that and you say environment texture. Now before I continue, obviously many of you would probably know how to do this, but it's for those who might not know how to do it properly, just in case they don't. So bear with me. From there, choose your HDRI, and I've downloaded one called Sunflowers 4K. So if you want the same one I'm using, I will leave a link down below, don't worry. But for the rest of you guys, all of you that's watching, you can use whatever you choose to use. It is up to you how much light you want in your scene. Do your thing. Okay, I'm gonna choose mine now, Sunflowers, and open up image. It should reflect. There we go, reflect there. So let's see if it worked. Boom. Yep, of course there will be no light. Why? Two reasons. One, if I click on the arrow downward, like pointing down arrow shading part next to the viewport shading, don't know what you call it, click that, notice scene light is off and scene world is off, which links to what we have here, choosing our own HDRI, for those who don't know. And also, even though we're using a default in Blender, we still can't see any much light coming in. Why? Let's texture the sliding glass. That's where we're going to make it gloss so that light can actually reflect through in the house that we built, or that I built. And whatever house you built, it's going to happen the same way. So to put the material, now I'm going to go back to its normal shading, and make sure you click on whatever window you've done in your scene. And then from there we go to material. We already have the port open, so we say new. Notice it's gonna show at the side there too. Now I tend to go to the IOR and I make that 1.333. Why do I do that? Because it works for me. Hopefully it'll work for you guys too. Which is, I've seen other creators do the same, so it's still good enough. Use the same one. Take the roughness all the way down. You can leave a bit of roughness if you want, if you like this sort of thing. You can, but I just like to put it all the way down for this scene, just to make sure enough light is coming in. And then transmission, I put all the way up to its full bar. Yes, to its full bar. So let's see if that worked. Before we actually go, okay, we go to the viewport shading, and then we click on the down arrow right next to it, and we say scene and scene world. Boom! We got action. Oh yes, I can see the HDRI I chose, and I can see some light. That's good stuff. Good news. So for some who don't know, if you want to turn your HDRI around in terms of in a 360 rotation to get to see the best part of the HDRI that brings enough light, if you go up here onto the way it says object, click on it and go to world. Notice we have the HDRI connected to the background and to the world output, which brings us the result that we see on the left screen. So to make that work now, we need to basically make sure we have node wrangler on. Now, if you don't know what Node Wrangler is, it basically helps you control the rotation and the location, everything. But I'll show you how it works on the rotation part. Go to Preference, Edit Preference. In case you don't have yours on, make sure you go to Add-ons. Then make sure you're on the search bar. You write in the word Node, and then it will give you an option called Node Wrangler. And then it'll probably be like this on your side if it's not activated. You just click on that little block right there, and you go down here, you say Save Preferences, and then you're good to go. And then once you're good to go, make sure that you click only the image where the HDRI is actually imported from, the image itself, image texture bar, and then you press Control T. Voila, like magic, we got action. So yeah, we got the map and the texture coordinate. Yeah, so that's on the wall. So now notice on where rotation is, I'm gonna go to the z-axis, which turns it left or right. If I turn that, let's say all the way up to 128, boom, I can see a road, and you can see the lighting, the light changes. So you can play around with that and see which part of the HDRI brings more light, but I like it on 0 because it's working out for me. Yeah, hope that helps. So obviously go back to the world and click on object, because we still need to texturize certain parts of the house. Alright, so now that we see there's some light coming in, we can go back to its normal shading. Let us texture the floor, the moment we've been waiting for. Since I talk too much, don't get to the point in time, let me just get to the point. Let's texture the floor. So new, cool. So basically what I do is I just open up the material output, because we are going to use probably a displacement there, maybe not, we'll see which one works for us. Now you probably won't. So if you go to add on the search bar, just go to image texture. Two ways you can do this. You can either search for image texture, or you can open up where your texture is. If I can just quickly get to mine, my work, Blender, materials, and let's say I will use let's say I want to use the, let's see which one I'll use. I'll use the Parquet 23. Let's say I use Parquet, which I am going to use Parquet 23. If I drag this, let's say the color base, into Blender onto the right screen, boom, it automatically brings you the whole texture in that texture bar itself. Oh yes, in case you didn't know. Anyway, you can do it that way if you want to, but for the sake of the tutorial, just to make it as simple as possible, search for image texture, put that down there, and then I tend to duplicate them. So Control D duplicates them, bring one down, another Control D, bring it down again, another Control D, bring it down again. I just tend to always start with 4. In case I need more, I'll duplicate. So yeah, so from there we're gonna use a base color, connect it to the base color, and then connect the other image texture into the roughness, then the other one into the normal. Then this we just leave it there in case we need it. So from there, what you do is you go to add and you say normal map, because we gotta also connect the normal map into the normal texture we're gonna bring in. So we take the normal map, we put it right in between there, and we're good. And then obviously we're gonna also want to do a bump map. Take the bump map, open up some space, put it right in between there, and then we're good to go. So now it's time to actually bring your textures in, and I will make sure I leave the link down below in case you want to use the same textures I'm using for the rough wooden floor texture, the PBR texture. So I'm gonna say open on the first part, and obviously now we have to go where our textures are, to the same place. Blender files, materials. I'm using the 4K Classic Parquet, if that's how you say it. I don't know how you say it. How you say that word? Parquet, doesn't matter. I'm just gonna say how I want to say it. You guys can say it. If you can say it properly, good for you. Anyway, base color. So the first one I'm gonna use is base color. Open up that image, it'll connect to that, and then now the other one is gonna be the roughness. Go back to the same one, and there's roughness. You open that up. The other one is gonna be the normal map. Sorry for that. The normal map, and there we go. It's right there. That's the normal map. So Notice I said leave an extra in case you need it, and the reason why I'm gonna use that. That's for the specular, but I'm gonna use that later with you guys. So now to see the result and see how we look at and to see how it actually worked out for us, we go to viewport shading and let's see what happened. Oh yeah. Ah yeah, that's looking good. I'm joking, it's not looking good yet. It's looking ugly. Why? Because the textures are all blown out and big. You know, so remember we click on the base color, and remember with the node wrangler, which helps us fix that up, we say Control T, boom. From Control T we go straight to where the scale is, and let's see if I put the scale on 3 and 3 and 3, let's see what it gives us. Oh wow, don't panic, it does seem like nothing changed. Reason why is because remember we also got the normal. So from the normal we do the same thing. We click on the normal map where we have imported it, and we say Control T for that one too, and then we apply the same thing. We go 3 and 3 and 3. Let's see. Now notice it's working right here. Obviously it's still a bit big, way too big. So the higher the number, the more we can make it look more realistic on a floor. So let's pull up the number on the base color. So let's make that, let's try 6, 6, 6, and then the same for the normal map, 6, 6, 6. It's looking much better. This is looking good. I'm loving it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving it. See, look at that. And because of the bump that we placed in, it's just making it nice, and lights are reflecting on it so nicely. I'm just liking it, guys. Come on now, gotta be loving this. If you're not loving it, I'm sorry. I am so sorry that you're not, but I am. So this is looking good. I still feel it's a bit too big, so I'm actually going to maybe boost it up to 8 on the scale size. See if we can maybe align that properly. Let's see if that's working out. That is working out. And yeah, so you guys can decide how small you want it, how big you want it. Yeah, it's totally up to you guys. I think I'm gonna leave it to this size. Yeah, just so I can leave it a bit big so that you can see the definition on the whole design we're doing right now, the whole texturing. So yeah, so obviously we're still gonna make it a bit rough. Most definitely we're gonna make it a bit rough. You won't see it yet, but we will see it soon. So now what's next? What's next is basically the specular. From there I'll just basically move this down a bit. You know, let's bring the specular in, and let's connect it to the specular. Yeah, specular. The option to say specular where the blue line is. Boom. And from there we open and we go to where the specular is, level. It's this one right here, and we say up and ooh. You might not see it yet, but it's working. Anyway, what we're gonna do next is we'll make sure that I tend to leave everything on I tend to leave everything off in terms of non-color on the RGB. So we say non-color on that one, and the rest we leave the color, the base color on RGB. The rest is say non-color, which makes it work for us. Non-color, but obviously we can always change it up and see if maybe some can stay on RGB, because it does work sometimes on some when you leave it on RGB. But let's see the results we get now. Let us see the results we get. My computer is a bit slow. I'll probably speed up this whole thing. Now, this is looking good on my side, and I hope it's looking good on your guys' side. But notice now we have a good floor, good structure. The edges on the side are reflecting some bump, which is good. Shows like it looks like a floor in a way. But now we need to try and find a way to get that roughness on the wooden floor to make it look like it's old and it's just decaying in some part, or some parts have been damaged in a way, in a certain way, you know. And how I accomplish that is by technically playing with, if I zoom in here, playing with the color space. So when I played around with it, when I created my one, I went to non-color when it was non-color yet that I set it up already, and I basically went back and I put it on the sRGB. Boom! Look what happens. And I left the specular on non-color, and I also left the normal on non-color. And then what I did after that is I took the normal from the normal map that's connected to the bump on the normal socket or handle or whatever you call that connector. I put it onto height. Boom! Then we're gonna see the results now. And this is how I basically accomplished that floor texture of roughness. Make it look nice. So if I just zoom in a bit here so that we can see the result that is coming up on my screen, hopefully you guys will get the same result. Notice, let me just move this a bit more on the side. Notice now, because I put on the color space on the roughness on RGB, left it the same as the base color, and I left the specular level and the normal on non-color, and changed that from the normal map to the bump, from normal to the height of the bump. Look at the floor. Look at how the roughness, if you can see my mouse, look at how the roughness is actually appearing. Look how beautiful that is. And in some old wooden places, there are some rough textures on the floor showing like it's old and stuff and it's decaying. Look at that, you see? And because the light reflects it well, and because there's a bit of a bump, whoever has ever been in a wooden house and lived in one for a long time, you know such textures can grow out of it depending on how old it is or how damaged it's been, or however it's been damaged. Certain textures like this does tend to grow out of it, especially when it decays or if there's termites or something eating it up. Wood is food for some things or some animals or some insects for some reason, but not for human beings. Hallelujah for that. Thank God for proper food that we have. Anyway, see, it works out. Look at that. That looks really nice. It looks like it's a proper old wooden house with a wooden texture that's been roughed up a bit, but it's a bit rough. But it looks good, man. It looks authentic. It looks, I don't know. I'm liking it, guys. I don't know. If you're not liking it, then I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, but I'm just liking it. And this is for anybody that's wanting to know how I did my wooden floor with the roughness on it. Obviously, getting the right textures also, and the PBR textures, but I will leave a link down below where I got all these textures in case you want to use the same one. But I believe it's looking good on my side. And then basically, however, because I'm focusing on the tutorial on the floor, however you want to do the color around the rest of the house or whatever you've built, you can do it. For me, I'll just click on, if I go here, sorry, my computer is slow, let me just go back to normal shading. On the glass frame, the frame of where the glass window is, and I'll just make a new not tutorial, sorry, I don't know why I'm saying that. I'll just make a new texture on this glass thing. If my PC can stop fighting with me and actually love me. Look at this, guys. Look at the sadness of how slow my, come on PC, love me for today. Come on. There we go. I'm just gonna say new on that part. Make sure it's actually on the right. Click on the right one. There we go. And then, no man, stop it. Same thing as we did there. I'm just gonna texture this, so I'm probably gonna speed this up. So I went ahead and texturized this glass frame, yeah, of the sliding door, whatever you wanna make it to be. That's why it looks a bit darker. Yeah, so from there it's all about rendering. So what you do is it's simple. You go to, in fact we can close this up now, the node. So same thing in the middle here where there's a divider between two screens. Hover your mouse onto the line of it, and then you see those two arrows pointing opposite direction. You right click, join areas. So we're gonna go and enlarge the left screen. Boom. So we got that there. That's good. I'm just gonna go to normal shading. Then as we here, you guys can set up yours for GPU and stuff, but I still have to upgrade my computer and fix that up. And then make sure you click on denoise. I usually leave it as default and NLM. From there we go to this panel here that says view layer properties, and you make sure your denoising data is on. Make sure of that. Then from there I think you're good to go. I usually render with such scenes up to 500, so you can decide how many samples you want. It's up to you, but I said 500. If you have a more stronger computer, then go as high as you want to make it even more detailed and much more clean. So yeah, I just usually leave it to 500, but you can decide what you want to leave it to. And let's see. So what I've learned recently is if you want to make this 4K from whatever it is right now, you just double the percentage. So you say 200 and it'll go to 4K if in case you want to really make it that clear and crisp. But not 1%. Why am I saying 1%? 100% is fine. I'm gonna leave mine at 100% due to the fact that it's just a tutorial I'm showing you guys. And you can always click on render region. It really helps so that when I render on the viewport, it just shows you how it's going to look like on the camera itself alone without rendering everything else that won't be in the camera. And yeah, man, it's really looking good. I really like this. And remember, if you want more light, select the right HDRI and make sure that you turn it around and make sure that wherever the sunlight is the strongest, it's reflecting in the design that you have. So then you guys should know the other procedure. Just go to render image, or F12 as some people do, and go ahead and begin your process. So I'd like to say thank you so much to anybody that's watching this. I appreciate it. As other YouTubers say, like and subscribe, but I'm different, because either way, whether you like it or subscribe it, whether you do it or not, I am still very thankful that you gave the video a chance to even click on it and see what's happening. So thank you for watching, guys, and hopefully there'll be more tutorials on the way. And if there's any more requests you guys like me to do, please don't be scared to comment. Thank you. Bye bye.